Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are composer, conductor William Kraft and author Sue Ann Jaffarian. Composer, conductor, timpanist, percussionist, and teacher, William Kraft was born and raised in Chicago. He graduated from Columbia University with a bachelor's, and he earned his master's in composition at the same school. What were you in residence at the Philharmonic?
Yeah, this was established by Ernest Fleischman.
Right.
He wanted, first of all, to have someone look at all the new scores that came in. And so he said,
new music?
For new music.
Oh, that was for new music, yeah.
And Giulini was not interested in new music.
I see.
So he said, how much would you charge to look at scores and recommend some for, I said, 20,000. He said, well, I had more like 5,000 in mind. And I said, well, if I do that, I take it very seriously, because this is a position that's rare, very rare. And so he says, we'll make you composer in residence. So
you were the composer in residence. Mm-hmm. And then before that, you were a member of the Philharmonic for 26 years before Ernest Fleischman called you in. So you were 8 as a percussionist and 18 as a timpanist. Right. And I never say that right. Timpanist.
Timpanist is right.
Okay. So you've had an array of awards and commissions. I couldn't even start counting them, so I'm not going to even get into it. But I want to know what a timpanist is and what a percussionist is and what you do so that my audience will know as much as I know.
Well, the timpani have a very long history, even going back to the Arabian days when they rode on camels and had 2 small drums on either side of the camels.
Oh, like that.
And when during the fall of
Constantinople.
Yay.
I'm with you, Bill.
I know timpanist, but I don't know
Constantinople. I'm with you.
Isn't
I'm
that
with
wild?
you. Yeah.
I never had this trouble before, and that's when the Western civilization became aware of percussion instruments, including the timpani. So it came into our culture through Gluck and Mozart and Beethoven.
Oh.
When they wrote for percussion, they used the Turkish instruments, the bass drum, the crescent, the cymbals, the triangle.
Those are all percussion instruments.
They're all percussion.
But the timpani...
Timpani is quite different. The timpani are tuned. And generally,
those are drums we're talking about.
Big drums, yeah. They're generally like 30 or 32, 26 or 29, or 29, 28, 26, and 24, standard.
Okay.
But
they're not called kettle drums. I remember years ago I used to say, oh, he's playing the kettle drums.
That's the English term.
Oh, it is?
You know.
So they do say that.
Timpani is Italian.
I see. Oh, I see. So when you're a timpanist, how do you practice? Those drums are so huge, and when you see them on stage, they never move them on and off, like the violinists get up or the bass people take their bass?
Well, when they do have to take them off because there are other shows.
Yeah, but I mean during the symphony.
Oh, no.
No, but where do you practice?
Well, I used to practice at home. I had a studio that I set up and had my own drums.
A whole big set of drums like that?
Yeah. The current timpanist, Joseph Pereira, who is marvelous, I might say, I asked him where he practices, because he just came from New York, and he's renting a place downtown. And because he's playing my timpani concerto December 5th and 6th.
That's what I wanted to know. You wrote a concerto. You play the
I
timpani.
did, yeah.
Can you trust that score to somebody else to play, or do you want to be up there playing it?
I never have played it. Never really wanted to be a soloist. You know, I've done it. I made quite a reputation as a percussionist, but I never asked for it. I don't have the ego to do that. But I was going to say, Joe told me he practices in a room at Disney Hall.
Oh, so they have it set up in a room.
Extra, yeah.
You have written this concerto, and and written concertos before. David Herbert and who James Bosnos have played your score.
Oh, they've done the second timpani concerto.
But by you?
Yes.
That's what I meant.
The first one, which we're doing December 5th and 6th here at Disney Hall, has been played by over 50 orchestras around the world.
Oh, is that right?
So, you know, so I'm not there obviously a lot of the time. So,
oh,
yes,
I see.
Every time I've gone, I'm amazed at how well the piece is played.
Is it considered new music? I mean, is it
written now?
In the genre of new music? What is new music? Yeah.
You know, it's new music, just music that's written now.
Yeah.
You know, but generally, it unfortunately includes everything from the 20th century to now. You know, once you got to the 20th century, music changed quite a bit, and so the standard repertory of all orchestras is still the 19th century.
So that's what happens. You did start this Los Angeles percussion ensemble.
Oh, yeah.
And why did you start something like that?
Because I was getting bored.
Oh, you have to always be doing something, right?
Well, you know, it'd be at rehearsals. It was wonderful when I played percussion because of the repertory, I was off many weeks during the season, so I had a lot of time to compose.
Oh, I see.
But during the rehearsals, I was sitting around, you know, and I thought, you know, I ought to do something. So I formed a quartet, and we played in schools.
Oh, great.
I called it the First Percussion Quartet, you know, and I wrote a...
And
how it started.
Yeah, tell me how it started, because who and what did they play? All percussion instruments?
Yeah, everything. It started because the first year I was in the orchestra, the 55-56 season, we took a 10-week tour of Asia, which is really a bear. And when we got to Formosa, is before Taiwan.
Yeah, right.
I was put in a room about 8 by 10 with calcimine walls, a little rug, a bunk-type bed, and a little wooden table and a chair. And I said, I'm either going to go crazy or I'm going to write something.
Oh, good for you.
So I thought that there should be a piece to introduce the percussion section of a symphony orchestra to the audience, especially to children, at children's concerts. So I wrote it in that room.
That's the teacher part of you coming out. Very good. You know, for children to understand, for people to understand.
Good. When I came home, we played the Hollywood Bowl, and then we started the winter season with a run out to Santa Monica Barnes Auditorium. And
what does that mean, a run out?
Oh, well, you're not playing at your home base.
I see, okay.
You know, we go to San Diego, you go to Long Beach,
okay.
you go to, you know.
Okay.
So we were at Barnes Hall in Santa Monica, and John Barnett, the assistant conductor, came up to me and he said, do you know of any piece for percussion that could be played at a children's concert? Oh. He said, the only thing I know is the Chavez Toccata, and that takes 6. So I said, it just so happens that I have here.
Hello?
You know? So that was my first piece that was played in Los Angeles.
And then tell me is the percussion the cymbal, the bells?
You can simplify it by saying anything you can hit, scrape, It's rub.
Hit, scrape,
Yeah,
rub.
so it'd be, you know, the main
Cymbals.
symbols. Yeah, the basic, from the 19th century, you have just bass drum, triangle, and cymbals. And then the snare drum would come in.
Oh, that too?
You know, Berlioz was the first one really to use things that, well.
So the bass drum is the one they bang like that. It's a big one, but not like the timpani. That's totally separate.
The timpani is tuned.
I see.
And the timpani plays everything with the orchestra, unless it's omitted, but I'm saying it plays the repertoire from Mozart, even Bach, forward.
That's what I wanted to ask, because every time you see them playing, they put their ear down, and they're like, what are they listening for?
Yeah. A lot of them...
Can they tune it there when they're listening to it?
Well, there's a pedal.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
oh, they use the pedal.
See, there's a rim around here, and there are rods that go through the rim. And then those rods go to a center post, and that center post is controlled by a pedal, and you push the pedal down, it pulls the head down, and it makes the pitch go up.
And then how do you know what size mallets to use?
Taste.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not written in the score?
Sometimes a composer would say hard sticks or once in a while. But I used to legislate every stick for every player, even the brand name and the model number.
I have your score here. So would some score like this say what you're talking about, the stick that you want used?
Yeah, I'm more finicky than most.
Is that right? But isn't that good, because then you get the sound that you've written, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I watch them play, and I see them changing their I don't know, call them mallets.
Mallets, yeah.
Is that right?
Mallet sticks.
And listening, and I'm like wondering, what are they doing? So you've explained it all. When you write, I have this score here. Do you just open a book and start writing?
No, I have separate pages. Sometimes I'll get pages that fit the piece I'm writing. You know, you get manuscript. I might have it made. This pages. There's a wonderful Xerox shop in my neighborhood, and she'll make the paper for me.
Okay.
And I might spiral bind it like that. You know, just for that one piece. Or for sketches, I like to have one book that's bound like that. But I write in single sheets is the idea.
When you start writing, you write in single sheets?
Yeah.
And you write all the things? I mean, you make all these notes? These are all your hands?
Yeah, I write directly into this. Is that my hand?
This is your hand? Is this your hand?
Wait, look at this. What is this piece? You know, who did this?
I don't know. Does it look familiar?
That's mine.
Are you your favorite composer? Who is your favorite composer?
Oh, it starts with Debussy, Ravel, and Stravinsky, and that whole period.
Oh, that reminds me. Stravinsky, you did work with Stravinsky when he was in Los Angeles. What did you do, and how did you get together?
Well, he saw me playing at the Monday evening concerts. That was a it was a series that did do a lot of contemporary music, coupled with early music, and so I became the percussionist for that series. And Stravinsky asked me always to play his stuff, and then when he was recording or doing performances elsewhere, he would ask. I became his percussionist and in charge of all the percussion activities.
We forgot he lived here, didn't he? He was living here.
Yeah.
And was he easy to get along with?
Yes, for us, he was marvelous. He had a reputation of being difficult when he was in Paris.
That's why I was asking you,
Yeah. You know, he knew who he was after the Firebird and Petrushka.
Yeah.
You know, and he showed it in the way he dressed. He was a dandy.
Was he?
The spats, you know.
Really?
Yeah, spats.
In Los Angeles?
No.
Only in Europe, huh? In Europe?
No. When he came here, he relaxed.
I see. When you're on the stage conducting, do you stand on a podium?
I have to. I'm short, but
You're
I
short?
don't like to.
Oh, I wondered about that.
If it's a small ensemble, no.
You won't.
Because I think that it gives a wrong impression, you know, of superiority.
Does it? That's why I wondered about that.
Yeah. So it's there because it's necessary.
I see, I see.
You know, even in an orchestra, you have a very large expanse of you know, of players all over. So it's best to be on a podium. So
In that respect. And then
Yeah,
do you have like
so
a
they can see
railing
you.
around you?
well, you don't want to fall over.
I wondered because some conductors don't use a railing.
That's true.
Scary.
I think it's the older ones, you know, that have the railings.
Oh.
Well, that's my general experience in looking at it. You know, Zubin, I don't remember ever had a railing up there. I never had a railing.
You never did.
No.
Well,
I might now.
well, I'm gonna read the score because I'm so
Okay.
good, and I'll read it. And I'm gonna thank you so much for being with us today,
You're welcome.
William Kraft, composer and conductor. And don't go away. We'll be right back with author Sue Ann Jaffarian. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profile. I'm with author Sue Ann Jaffarian, who was born in Massachusetts and raised in California. She graduated from Whittier High School and attended Biola College. Sue Ann has been a corporate paralegal for more than 20 years with a law firm specializing in healthcare. What does a paralegal have to do with a novelist?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
It doesn't bring anything to your novel?
Oh, it does. It does. In my Odelia Gray series, she is a paralegal.
Oh, she is a paralegal.
Yeah, so it was
Okay.
easy to write what I already knew.
That's what I wondered. Now, what does a paralegal do?
A paralegal assists attorneys. We do a lot of the research and organization work and things like that. It's kind of the footwork, you might say.
Do you have to go to law school to do that?
No. But in California, you have to be a certified paralegal. You have to be a certain education. And
Well, how do you get that? Is it a law education?
they have classes like at different universities and schools that you take the classes and they certify you as a paralegal and things like that. It's a special.
Special
I guess,
specialized
course.
courses?
Yes, specialized courses.
Do your ideas for Odelia, for these books, come from the law cases?
No, I don't.
I bet they do.
No, I actually try not to draw on that because that's confidential information.
But even if you change things, can't you draw on that information and use it in your writing?
I really have never done that. I just steer clear of that. And I have so many stories that don't require that. So, I mean, I go to the attorneys in my firm for legal information and help when I say, if this happened, what would this happen? Or
I
what's the
see.
legal ramifications of something like this happening? And
they know you're a writer.
Oh, they know I'm a writer.
So
yeah.
they'll help
Many
you
of
with
them are
it.
big readers of my work, and it's a lot of fun.
So you have to use other sources of material. Where do those sources of material come from?
They just come. It's just amazing. They just show up in my brain somehow, and it's a lot of fun to do that because you don't know, and I surprise myself sometimes.
Well, you work full time.
I work full time. Yes.
And you're writing to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then another series of books.
Yes.
When do you have to? It looks like you're writing full time.
I do write full time.
You do,
I
so
have
you
a
have-
full time job as a paralegal, and I write full time. I write in the mornings, and I write in the evenings. I write on weekends, and I produce. I'm under contract for 2 novels a year.
Is that right? So you
Yes.
have to write 2 novels, and they're all like 250 to 300 pages,
Yeah,
right?
they run about 80,000 to 85,000 words,
That's
which
how
is
you
about a
fit-
400-page manuscript.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So how do you actually physically do the writing? Do you use a yellow pad? Do you use a legal pad?
No, I do everything on the computer, and I don't outline.
You do not
I
outline?
do not outline. I have a big whiteboard, a huge whiteboard next to my computer on the wall, and I jot my notes down there and the characters and their backgrounds a little bit, just notes.
Do you use Post-its or do you write right on the wall?
No, I write on a big whiteboard, erasable
right
whiteboard, and I write on that. And I like that because I can erase it if I don't like it.
Oh, I see. A whiteboard with, I see.
Yeah, with the erasable ink. And then I just compose everything right onto the computer, right on.
As you're going, and then
As
do you
I'm going.
re-edit that paragraph by paragraph?
Yeah, I do what's called rolling edits. Like I'll create like 10, 20, 30 pages and then go back and keep editing it. And so it's like if I do 5 pages in a day, the next day I'll go back and edit those pages before I create another.
I see.
So it's always like 3 steps forward, 3 steps back, then another 3 steps forward.
But you're really editing yourself. So, but do you have an editor who also works with you?
Oh yes, at the publisher. I turn it in and then they give me the feedback after it's done.
So you're editing all the time. Are you printing it out? Do you look at it, print it out, and re-edit?
I know there's going to be a lot of writers thinking I'm nuts. I never print it out. I do everything on the computer. I do have 2 friends that read it. My manager reads it, and an ex-boyfriend reads it. They read it probably about 3-4 chapters at a time, and they'll give me feedback. And then when it's done, I do another read through and it's off to the publisher. I hit the send button and it's gone.
Is that right? You keep it all in there?
All in there.
All those pages, and then she gets it or he gets it? Oh my gosh. What was the first thing you authored?
Published or unpublished?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. The first book I ever wrote was called, the working title was 10 Cats and a Vibrator.
You have the funniest titles.
I do. And it's a coming-of-age novel. It's about a young woman who was date raped at 18 and then came to California to go to college. And it's kind of coming-of-age and revenge novel. My then agent, not the one I have now, came really close to selling it a few times, but never got there. And I've since, over the years, that was 15 years ago, and I've since reworked it a few times.
Oh, I wonder.
And my current agent would love to shop it around, but it's not, in my eyes, not ready yet. And it now has a working title of God's Apology.
But after that, then you self-published something.
Oh, after that, I wrote another novel that also got close to being published and didn't. And then I wrote Too Big to Miss. And my then agent didn't like it, and so I self-published it. And
what do you think about self-publishing? Did that get you on the road?
When I self-published, it was a different climate than it is now. It's very, very difficult to sell a novel that's self-published because bookstores don't want it in their stores. It's very difficult. But you know, when I self-published, that was when self-publishing was starting to gain traction. Today, I would not self-publish a novel.
Well, then you had an agent from the very beginning.
Yes.
How do you get an agent then?
You just send out query letters, or I did emails. I got a bunch of names of people that were looking for new clients. Both times I found agents. I sent out query letters, emails, telling them a bit about me and a bit about my book. Found an agent very quickly. I know many of my friends the poor things take years to find agents.
Yeah, it sounds like
I found my first agent very quickly, which I'd like to think is a testimony to, you know, my then raw and growing talent. And then when I found the one I have now, I had already self-published 2 novels that were doing well.
Oh, you did. So then they wanted...
And I did the same, queried her, and she grabbed me. So.
Well, where does Midnight Ink come from?
Midnight Ink is after I self-published 2 novels, and they were doing very well, and I was having a growing following.
I see.
I realized at that point, if I wanted to be truly a professional writer, I had to make the leap to traditional publishing.
I see.
So I found a new
you
agent.
like were making your path.
I was trying to open the door, and I found my present agent, and she loved the books, and she's the one that found Midnight Ink.
Oh, and she found them, and then they started publishing your books. The reason I'm asking all these questions is because so many people want to write books and want to self-publish, and they want an agent, and it's always difficult to find those things. But if you see a person live sitting here who's actually done it and knows how to do it, I think it's a really good deed that you're doing for the public.
Well, perseverance is the name of the game. I mean, I was lucky. I have to say, I only sent out 2 or 3 agent queries and landed my first agent. When I landed my second one, the same thing, only a couple. And I know, like I said, so many of my friends go through 100 agents before they find one. And you just have to persevere.
Okay, so you can't take no. It's just like rejection notices,
yeah,
right?
It's the same with publishers. Before Too Big to Miss was picked up by Midnight Ink, you know, my agent had a lot of rejections. And you just have to keep plowing forward.
Okay, you have these funny titles, these kind of double entendres, Too Big to Miss, Booby Trap, Thug and Kisses, The Curse of the Holy Pail. Where do these come from?
Most of them came from me, and occasionally my publisher will say, we don't like that title, let's come up with something different. Like Booby Trap, that was called something else, and they called me up and said, we're not crazy about it. What do you think of Booby Trap? And I went, oh my God, I'm ashamed I didn't think of that myself.
Because you talk about the boobs being in the way. I talk about the
boobs being in the way. It was a natural. It was, Thugs and Kisses was ready to go to print under another title. And
but it's like
I thought of Thugs and Kisses.
Hugs and Kisses. And I don't know, they're like simple, they're catchy, and they appeal to what? The mass readers?
Well, they appeal to people who with a catchy sense of humor.
With a sense of humor,
because the books are humorous.
But Odelia, you said, was a paralegal.
Yes.
And she does things that, like, normal people do.
Yeah.
I mean, you spill marinara sauce on your dress and you dip the napkin in the water and clean it. I mean, I think we all do that. She's normal.
She's normal.
But she's kind of nosy, isn't she?
Yes. Yeah, she has a problem with that.
But she's like Miss Everyone. And you brought in that she's married to a disabled. Does that have anything to do with your healthcare paralegal things?
No, I wasn't even working. Actually, I have only been working for this firm for about 4 years. Greg, her boyfriend, her love interest, actually came from the second novel I ever wrote. And everyone who turned down the novel loved that character. So when I needed a boyfriend for Odelia, I went, oh, I have one already created. So he and his dog literally got pulled out of another novel and plopped into this series.
And married her.
And he's according to my publisher, the second favorite character in the whole series.
Is that right?
Yeah, they just love him.
So you talk about plucking him out and putting him there of a series. Could this be a TV series?
I have been optioned for TV. So we're hoping, you know.
Oh, so that could be a TV series. What about a film, though?
Well, it was optioned for film or TV.
I see.
Dramatic.
I see.
So we'll see. It was optioned by a producer, Brad Wyman. And I'm the writer. I just sit back down and hope he works his magic.
You've won award after award with all these books. How do these people find you, know what to read, and give you these awards?
Well, the awards come from readers and reviewers. I mean, I've won nothing overly major, small things, but they mostly come from people who are reading these books, and they find me. The best way to find a new reader, I think, is a new author is through word of mouth.
That's what I was wondering.
It's viral.
Yeah.
It's viral. We always talk in the writing business as it being viral. And I always say it's a cold you want to get.
It's like a viral infection.
Only a good one. A good one.
But you know, you were talking about the critics, and the critics review your books, but they always add that little bit about plus size. Does that bug you?
No, I'm plus size. You know, it was easy to write about a middle-aged plus size paralegal. I'm a middle-aged plus size paralegal. You write what you know. Although in Go Salamochi it's different, but in Odelia it really was, what if I stumbled upon bodies? What if I had to find murderers? You know, so it was easy to put myself into her place.
So Ghost a la Mode is Ghost of Granny Apples? And
Ghost
what
of
is that, Granny
mystery.
Apples?
That's a paranormal mystery. That involves a ghost. It's about a ghost who's been dead about 100 years. She's from Julian, California, so she's a pioneer woman. Well, Julian is a gold rush town in Southern California. It's one of the big tourist areas now down that way. They're known for their apples. And she contacts her very live great-great-great-granddaughter and together, and the granddaughter sets off to solve the mystery of the ghost's death.
And talking about mystery, there is a Mystery Writers Association,
Yes.
isn't it? Do you belong to that?
Yes, I do.
And do you know all of the people in that group? I
We
mean,
know
do you
a
all,
lot of, we all know each other to some extent. I don't know everyone, of course.
No, but I mean, do you all talk about your work together? What do you do as a group?
Well, as a group, like in Southern California, we meet periodically and we have parties and things.
Oh, you do?
And we talk and we, you know.
It's no
not-
competition then.
It's a friendly competition.
It's a different kind
You
of
know, there's room for all of us. People will always need to read new books.
thing. And new
There's room-
mysteries, but
and
because
new
it's like very
mysteries.
specific, right? Have you ever thought of not writing a mystery? Have you written
Oh,
anything
yeah.
else?
I still would like to get that first novel of mine out the door.
Oh, that's good.
I'd like to rewrite it and you know, hone it. It's so different. It was written years ago, and my writing has so matured that it almost needs to be rewritten. But I think it's a great story.
I was just going to say, you love to tell stories, I guess.
love to tell stories. Yeah.
And is that from your background? Are you Armenian?
I'm Armenian.
Is that? Do you think
Half.
that comes from background storytelling?
I don't know. I think it comes from the fact that I was always a big reader, even when I was a little kid.
Oh, I wondered about that.
Yeah, I was very much a reader. And I think that's where it came from.
Well, have you thought of writing children's books?
I actually have an idea for one.
Oh, you do?
I do. I have an idea for one. And I've talked about it with my agent. She actually today is sending out a proposal for another book, but not a children's book. But I've talked about it with my agent, and it's just time.
I've hit
Time's
it, right?
my enemy.
I've hit it,
Time's
right?
my enemy.
Well, we're going to wait and see.
Yes.
Good. Thank you, Sue Ann.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
And thanks for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles today. Email us at JAQUINN1 @ AOL.com. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.